Good evening, everybody. It is 7:30 on Wednesday, May 3rd, 2023, and thank you for joining the Fair Rent Commission meeting. We have in attendance Commissioners Dora Witherspoon, Commissioner Sonia Oliver, Commissioner Frank Collier Clemens, Vice Chair, and Commissioner Peter Halliday calling in by phone. And along with that, we have our department or commission coordinator, Carlos, and Attorney Liskov as our staff. Thank you all for joining. The first item of the agenda are the minutes, approving the minutes from last month's meeting. Has everybody had a chance to review the minutes? Carlos sent them earlier today.
Yes.
No, I did not. I had a wicked day at work. I never even saw them.
All right, let me present them and we
So I
can go
guess
through.
abstain.
Okay. I said last month's meeting. They're actually from March 1st. We did not have a meeting in April. So let me present those now. There are a couple of changes that I noted. Particularly just to make sure that we're all on the same page with whose name should be hyphenated and how it should be hyphenated. We have two commissioners with hyphens in their name, Fran Collier - Clemens and Brenda Penn Williams. So that should be corrected throughout. I noticed that a couple of places it's correct here. Did anyone else see any changes to the minutes? Any changes on page 3? Any changes on page 4? All right, hearing no changes, I'll take a motion. No further changes, I should say.
I mean, I guess I can make the motion.
Sure.
Second.
All right. Motion by Sonia Oliver. Second, I got Peter Halliday making the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, motion passes. Great. Next item on the agenda today is the chair's report. Let me share the agenda so we can see that as well. And I don't have anything particular to report, but I do thank you all for joining, and I appreciate everybody taking the time last month. I hope that you all had a good Easter or Passover or whatever other holiday you may have celebrated. I believe Ramadan was also last month. So thank you for taking the time, and we're glad to be back in session. And that's really it for me. I look forward to hearing Carlos's coordinator's report. I'll turn it over to you, Carlos.
Good evening, everyone. So since I started towards the end of November, I've been able to assist about 190 families. Again, the fact that I'm bilingual, I'm able to create a rapport with the Spanish community, the Spanish residents, and I feel that they feel very confident coming over to City Hall and discussing the issues with their landlords. Again, they express how much they feel that unfortunately some landlords are taking advantage of them, and they also express how much they feel that if they don't pay the higher rent, that they could always move out. So some of the trends I've seen over the last few months have been evictions, especially no-fault evictions. Once the lease expires, they either telling them, look, I'm going to raise your rent, and then they call me and they tell me, is this allowed? I tell them, yes, they can raise rent, but just remember that, the law only protects you for about 6 months, and then they can ask you to move out or evict you. So a lot of the times they end up just walking out and not filing a complaint because they're either undocumented residents or they just don't want to deal with the hassle of possibly having a landlord retaliate. Another trend that I've seen has been rental increase. Again, goes hand in hand with some of the evictions. Landlords want to increase rent. I tell them, yes, you can increase it as much as you want. Just remember the tenants have the option to come to me and file a fair rent complaint. Just keep that in the back of your mind. And a lot of times they do the right thing and raise rent, which is reasonable, and not excessive for the tenants, and they maintain a good relationship, a good landlord and tenant relationship. Besides that, I mean, I know I mentioned 190 families, but a lot of those families are families that call back over and over again, and I'm assisting them with recouping a lot of the security deposits. A lot of them don't know the process to get the security deposits back. I've been able to help a lot of them out, and they're very, very grateful once they receive that money. They give me a call back and tell me, hey, thank you very much. We didn't know you existed. We didn't know this office existed, and I'm going to pass the word on to the rest of Norwalk residents. And that's all I have from the coordinator's report.
Thank you, Carlos. Does anyone have any comments or questions for Carlos before we continue with the review, discussion, and motions on open cases?
Nope, I'm good.
All right. Then we will move on to the next agenda item, which are the discussion of the open cases. Do we have a sheet that outlines those, Carlos? It wasn't attached to the agenda.
It should have been towards the bottom.
This is as far as I think, unless it's another attachment.
It was another email I sent out earlier today. This was the
Maybe
one I sent out
it's
a
in the
few days
packet.
ago.
let
Yes, in
me
the
see.
packet.
Got it. Sorry. All right.
There you go.
Thank you. Okay, here we are. Go ahead, Russell, all yours.
All right, very good. Good evening, everybody. Russell Liskov. Just want to report to you on the open cases. We're doing pretty well with what we said we were going to do. Case number 1819-23, 10 Union Avenue, apartment G6. The new landlord wanted to increase the rent from $16.12 to $17.95. This is a property where it's rent restricted, and the owner, the new buyer, didn't know that they had a lease in place with the tenant already. They were recertified. The rent was supposed to go to $16.99. That's what the contract was. That's what the tenant gave us. I was able to get the landlord to say, yes, this is right. Once I showed it to them all in black and white. So the landlord sent a new lease to the tenant for $16.99 for a 12-month lease. And we worked really hard to get the withdrawal signed by the tenant. That's what we would have had this done back in March, but the tenant was a little recalcitrant in getting us the withdrawal of the complaint. But now Carlos has the signed withdrawal in the file, so we recommend that we close this case.
Sonia Oliver, motion to close the case.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? None? Great. Case is closed. Thank you.
The next case is 1821, which is also a very 1821-23 is also an interesting case at 47 Lexington Avenue basement unit. Tenant was living there since 2013. There was a fire. Fire marshal went in and said it was an illegal unit. The landlord immediately went in and removed kitchen cabinets and doors and did lots of things that the landlord was not supposed to do. The tenant filed the complaint after the notice to quit was served, but we recommended we take the case because we wanted to help this person. The landlord also did some other things. They towed the car. We spoke to the landlord's attorney. Landlord's attorney sat on the summary process eviction case. They're still sitting on the summary process eviction case. The tenant has retained Abe Heisler to defend him in the eviction case. Another problem with this case is that the tenant has serious medical issues, has been in the hospital. The tenant has diabetic issues where he's had at least we believe that he's had some amputations done. So the tenant's really not getting back to us to tell us what he wants to do with his complaint. So I've left a message for Abe Heisler to give me a call to tell me the status. So for this month, I recommend we take no action. We should keep the case pending, but we should take no action on the file this month.
Sonia Oliver, motion for no action.
Any discussion? I have a question. If there is a pending eviction, are we allowed to continue holding the case open, or does the eviction proceedings take
I
precedence?
think we are allowed to keep the case open because at the end of the day, there's still they still tried to raise the rent on an illegal unit. So,
Okay.
I just think it might help the tenant out at the end to keep one of those swords of Damocles hanging to see if we can, my biggest problem is the tenant just won't get back to us. He's been in the hospital. We've spoken to either his sister or his wife. It's not always clear as to who's calling on his behalf. So, we've reached out. Carlos reaches out every week or so to find out what's going on, but he's not really getting many answers. So I'm going to try and deal with Abe to see what's going on that matter. Abe will get back to me and he'll give me his honest thoughts on that.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor to take no action on case 1821-23. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great, motion passes unanimously.
Okay.
New cases.
Okay, new cases, 1822-23, 58 Stewart Avenue, apartment 2. Two very nice ladies. We are, it was a family apartment. Ladies lived there for over 30 years. I've overseen many repairs in the unit. There's one thing left to be done is replace a piece of glass. It's in a window it's broken. The tenant has been a little bit difficult in allowing the landlord in to replace the glass, and the landlord is a little bit nervous. I have brokered a deal where the rent will be, where they will do a new rental agreement with each other as soon as the glass is replaced. So I would recommend that we hear this case. It does fall within the guidelines of the Fair Rent Commission because there is an increase in rent and there were repairs that had to be done. So I recommend that we hear the case.
Okay, I just have a question real quick.
Sure.
You said there is an agreement.
There will be. We don't have it in writing yet. We've got everyone to agree that the landlord made these multiple repairs. There were problems with the walls, and there was problems with the bathrooms, and there's problems with the kitchen, and there's problems with many other things. The landlord's repaired all of those issues. It took about 3 weeks for the glass to get in because it's special order glass. It had to be tempered glass. It couldn't be shattered. When you're in certain areas of the house has to be tempered glass. The tempered glass finally got in. The tenant has agreed to a new rental number with the landlord once the repairs are made. The only repair that has to be made is putting that new piece of glass in. So I think next month we'll probably have a signed agreement and we'll vote to close the case. But right now, I think it's within your bailiwick to hear the case.
All right, I'll make the motion.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, on to the next case.
Okay, the last matter is 1823-23, 3 Loomis Street, apartment 1. Tenant's been living there for over 5 years. The rent, there's been a significant request for the increase in the rent. I've spoken extensively with the landlord, who's a very lovely lady. I've spoken extensively with the tenant, who's also a very lovely lady. They're almost like two sisters fighting with each other at times, but they both get along. They both like each other, but they both have issues. But the good news is that I have brokered an agreement with them for a new rent. The only thing, the landlord just sent the new lease into Carlos today for us to review. I think I can get this done next month, but right now I would vote to I would recommend that we hear the case, because once again, it falls under the auspices of Fair Rent Commission, because there is an increase in the rent, and the
Yep.
landlord did do some small repairs in the unit at the same time.
Before we get to asking for a motion, I just want to note for future purposes, we should not put the contents of the negotiations, like what a proposed rent between the two parties is. In the event that this goes to a hearing, one of the items that wouldn't be discussed at the hearing would be the contents of the negotiations. That's something that's not for us to take into consideration when we're hearing a case. And so it's not something that we should be aware of before the hearing either, if there was a potential hearing. So just for
Okay,
future,
I
yeah.
didn't realize that, but Carlos, from now on, we'll leave the numbers out.
we can just say negotiations ongoing, and that
I like
I think
that.
is sufficient. Yep.
Understood. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think Carlos and I were both trying to give a little more information after 2 months ago.
I appreciate that. I want to make that clear. Everything else on this is really
I
great.
thought we always had the numbers on there before.
We have the initial, the rent increase proposed. That's fine. So to say, oh, the alleged increase is from 1950 to 2441.83, but the proposed rent in the negotiations, like the 424 line, shouldn't be included.
Okay, I understand. Thank you. So my recommendation is we hear the case because it does fall under all the guidelines for the Fair Rent Commission.
Yeah.
I make the motion.
Do we have a second?
Okay.
Second.
I'm going to give that one to Peter. Thank you, Peter. Any further discussion on this? All
I
in
have
favor?
an unreadiness.
Yep.
Now, we're voting to hear the case and we already rent that was acquired through negotiation. So how is that going to affect us if in fact we do hear this case?
Well, I don't think, I think it's gonna be gone because it's just a matter of signing it's just a matter of putting the documents together now. We just got the document today, but the deal is, I spent a lot of time with both of these ladies. They both understand the ins and outs of negotiation. They both like each other, then they don't like each other, and they love each other, and then they don't love each other. So I think they're gonna get these, they're not two sisters, but boy, they could be sisters, these two. So I don't think it's got any effect because the matter's gonna go away next month.
So could we not rescind that motion and see if we can vote to keep negotiations ongoing?
Well, you have to take it first, right? You either vote to accept, vote to hear it, or vote not to hear it first?
Yeah, we'd have to vote to hear the case before we vote to take no action on the case. Voting to
Okay.
hear the case just means that we have the option to take it to a hearing. And it's usually something that assists in the negotiations to be able to say, yeah, the Fair Rent Commission is prepared to have a hearing about this.
Okay,
If we vote not to hear it, then there's no reason for the landlord to negotiate at all because it wouldn't go to a hearing in that case. So I think,
okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
all right, so motion on the floor to hear the case. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
And I think, all right, well, that brings us to the end of the agenda. We have one item of old business on the agenda, which is a discussion of the Fair Rent Commission dinner. I'll have to connect with Brenda on the side for this because I haven't been able to get in touch with her. And she's not, I believe she hasn't joined the meeting yet, right? No. So, but Brenda is putting together, for those of you who are new to the commission, we typically have an annual dinner We would like to do that again this year. It's usually a Wednesday in early June. I think the second Wednesday in June is what we were aiming for. I don't know off the top of my head what date that is, but but I will connect with Brenda and you will probably be receiving an email about it prior to the meeting. We do need to pay for ourselves to attend. If you want to bring a partner or spouse or loved one, you are welcome to do so. We just need to cover the cost of them as well. But Brenda has the details on that because she's organizing it. So we'll connect with her and then make sure that we get an email sent to everybody so that you have all the details.
John, that date is June 7th.
June 7th is what she's planning?
No,
Okay.
that's the first Wednesday. The second Wednesday is the 14th.
Well, we might be planning it for the 7th then. It might be the night of our usual meeting.
Oh, okay. All right.
I'll double check with her and see. It would make sense if it's the night of our meeting because that's when we know we're free then, but I'll double check with Brenda and see what date. we're planning.
I thought the restaurant that we had it last June was really good. I don't know where we're
I think
gonna
that's
have
what
it, but
she's planning on doing. I think we were planning on doing El Posto again.
yeah, it was really good. I thought it was excellent. Yeah.
I agree.
It was nice, yes, I agree.
All right. Does anyone have any new business? And I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make that
Motion
I
to
so
adjourn.
moved.
We got everybody on that one. I'll
I
let
say,
Celeste
take your
second.
pick.
And then any seconds.
Yep.
All right. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you
Bye.
so much,
Bye,
everybody.
everyone.
Be
Bye.
well.
Well,
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Hope for a real spring to come here, okay?
That's right.
Thanks again. Bye.
Everybody.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Telesco.